What up, though? This is Knockouts in 3 Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts in 3 Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts in 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts in 3 Counts.
We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts in 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts in 3 Counts starts now.
Woo! What up, no? It is another Tuesday, as you saw from that beautiful new commercial, if I do say so myself. This is Knockouts in 3 Counts, and hey, you know, we got a hell of a week ahead of us, but I mean, today's guest had a hell of a weekend in front of him. He's making people catch cramps. He's beating the shit out of them so bad. We got the return of our guy, Ken Bank on it, Robles. How the hell you doing, brother, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great, man. Glad to be back on the show, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, happy to have you back, dude. I mean, as we were talking about, I mean, you came back in great fashion, you know, getting a 4th round TKO over there in Philly at the 2300 Arena, or the ECW Arena. You know, you were over there doing your thing. So, first of all, talk to me a little bit about that. I know you were coming off a loss going into this fight. So tell me about where your mind was going into this fight. Did that change your mindset for camp or even the fight itself? Where was your head at going into this fight?
I think in any fight, you know, you had through camp itself, it goes through many places. You want to answer a lot of questions. You know, when you're coming off a loss, you want to say, you know, do I still got it? Yeah, you know, can my body still handle this rigorous training? You know, am I still able? So you want to go in camp and kind of answer those questions during camp and not during the fight. So during camp, I kind of, you know, amped up the training, amped up the cardio, amped up everything. And then once fight time came is how my body's going to perform. That's what it comes down to. It is, you know, you could do years of training, but all that matters is when it comes down to perform. Mm-hmm. You know, somebody could look tremendous on pads or tremendous on a heavy bag, and they get in the ring, you're like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. It doesn't transition. So the most important thing for me was to show that whatever I do in my camp, that I transition it into the ring. So I kind of put myself into that killer mode for this fight. Walking out in the ring, the feeling in the ring was, you know, nobody can F with me. I'm the king right now. You know, I'm coming to take what's yours. And I went in there with that mentality, and you know, I stopped them.
I like it. And you look fresh as fuck while you were doing it. So, J-Bo and Corey, I know you guys weren't around the last time we had Mr. Bank on it on the show. So, what do you guys got for Ken, man? Like I said, he had quite the weekend last weekend, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle had kind of pointed at it. I mean, whenever you're coming off a loss, I mean, it's one thing to kind of talk the big game, but the way that you had brought it up, like, I still have it? And the mentality really is what it all boils down to, right? Is the mental game once you're bouncing back, and the I don't know, clarity, I guess you can say, in your voice or whatever. You can hear that you mean what you're saying when you're talking about trying to improve and showcase to yourself during camp that it actually means something to you.
Yeah. No, most definitely, man. You want to answer a lot of questions, and there's people who, like I said, can look good doing something, but once they get in the ring, their body just responds differently, and they wind up saying, "Oh, okay, my body, I didn't feel the same, or I couldn't perform, or I felt a step back, or I was too slow, or my body was this or that." But I felt great. I felt in shape. I felt strong. I felt in my last fight, I didn't feel as strong as I did during this camp. I felt really strong. I put on good weight after the weigh-in, and I felt colossal. So I went in with that confidence, and as you can see, the ending result it showed.
Well, what was the vibe like for you in camp this time around, dude? Because like you're training with a room full of killers. I know you train with all fellow past guests of the show, James Wilkins. I know you're in there with Richard Kami. I know you're in there with a lot of top dudes. So tell me about what the vibe was for you in camp this time around. And because you've had a lot of changes here in the last couple of years. You got new management. You're coming back on like we've said. You come back and made a statement in this fight. How much did having guys like that around you in camp help you out? And did that change like the vibe of your camp at all?
Not really, because I knew what had to be done. I wasn't going in not knowing what I need to correct. I wasn't going there oblivious to the fact that I needed to fix a couple things. So, and the people that I have around me, even my sparring partner, my main sparring partner for this camp was Ivan Golub. He's from Ukraine. I believe he's either 20 or 21-1. He should be undefeated with 16 knockouts. Great southpaw. His pedigree in the amateurs. He was out there with Lomachenko and them, and they don't play. They train their asses off. So when I was in the ring with him, he didn't show me no mercy. It was tough love. He wanted me to be better every time I sparred, and it showed in the ring, because once I got in the ring, I felt as comfortable as possible, knowing that I had the best training, the best sparring partner for this fighter.
Yeah, when you talk about that confidence, and to your point, you do everything you can to gain that confidence, like you said, in between the fight, not during the fight.
No, of course. And it could be tough, because I've been in positions where it's like, did I run enough? Did I spar enough? Did I, you start to, the mind is a crazy thing in any situation. When it comes to anything, it could be going to work, being at work, sitting at home, your mind can play games with you. So when you're in that real tough, that spot where you're about to walk out, you kind of have a talk with yourself. You check all the boxes. And this time I know I checked all the boxes. There was no doubt. It was all right. I did everything. Now it's time to perform.
I like that he said that too, because they always say like the training camp is supposed to be the hard part.
Exactly.
The fight is the execution. And like, I think it was the great Teddy Atlas said, inside those ropes, man, that's the chamber of truth.
That chamber of truth. Yeah, he tells me all the time, you can't lie in there, man.
It's going to go down in that ring, whether you like it or not. So you better be prepared.
Yeah.
Well, J-Bone, you just touched on something I wanted to ask about. I know you guys are newer to Ken Robles, but you mentioned Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas knows Mr. Robles real well. Tell me a little bit about that. Did you get to work with Teddy at all heading into this, or do you know if he checked out the fight at all?
Well, Teddy reached out to me personally before the fight and after the fight. He always checks in. He's a very good friend of mine, a mentor. He always calls in and checks in. And, as you know, we did the instructional videos with Dynamic Striking we did 15 videos. And, during those times, we became very close, talking family, boxing, mentoring. So he's always willing to lend, some knowledge to me. He's always ready to drop some knowledge, whether it's fighting a southpaw, whether to do this or do that. And believe it or not, during those instructional videos, I took a lot in, not only just being there and filming, but also being a student. I love to listen. I love constructive criticism. I was in the back with Boots Ennis and Julian, I can't remember his last name. Julian, he's a super welterweight. Julian Williams. I was in the back there with him, and as soon as I went back there, I was like, guys, what did you think? What can I work on? What can I fix? I love constructive criticism. So Teddy Atlas, he reached out to me after the fact. He congratulated me, and it's a great blessing to have people like him a part of the team.
Yeah, it's a huge thing to have honest, constructive criticism, not somebody trying to just talk shit or point out, flaws, but actually try to show you ways to improve things that you may not be able to see yourself. It's
No,
a
of
huge
course,
thing.
because without that, you'll never get better. Or without that, you won't go into a ring where, if you're a boxer, you get into the ring with a better boxer. What do you do now? You have to change you have to adjust and change the game plan. Okay, maybe I could be a boxer brawler, a counterpuncher. You got to be able to accept certain things, and to be able to accept that, you got to be open to constructive criticism from the trainers, from the sparring partners, from everybody. You got to be very open-minded. If you're obnoxious and oblivious to the fact, you're gonna meet that person who's gonna put up.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yep.
Hey man, and so that's something I wanted to talk about too. So with you coming back and having such a dominant performance, I know I can only speak for myself, but clearly from what you said, you're in the same boat too. I feel like as a fighter, you're always your own worst critic. Like you could go out there and knock somebody out in 30 seconds, and I feel like you could still always find some shit that you wish you would have done differently. So for you, now that you're a few days out off of the performance, I mean, how do you feel about the fight? What were the biggest things that stuck out to you? Was there anything that was like something you tried to implement that you noticed that you did well? Now that you've had a few days to kind of review it and have gotten to see the fight afterwards?
Well, I actually rewatched the fight today, and like you said, I'm my own worst critic. I got the stoppage, but I'm like, all right, I should have did this, or I should have kept my hands up here, or and I already have a list of a game plan that I need to fix already. Even though I felt I did great, what I did do great is I kept constant pressure, and I knew I was physically and mentally in shape to be able to do that. And I went in with the mindset that I can go 12, 15 rounds confidently. So from round 1 to the ending of round 3 to the stoppage in round 4, I was on top of him, not letting him breathe, not giving no type of space, no energy space. So I take that very well, and I'm going to implement that into the next camp because it worked.
So coming off of that, what do you want next? Like, what's next for you? Like, what do you do you have anything in mind in particular you want, or are you just want
Well, I'm definitely looking to get another fight before the year's up. I want to finish the year with 4 fights. I honestly want to avenge my losses. I have a majority decision loss. My first loss in my career was this guy named Dan Murray from Jersey. And I've been trying to call him out. I've been trying to get a rematch with him. And then, hopefully we can lock that in. I can get that loss under my belt. And, I did maybe 2 or 3 interviews after the fight, after my win. And I called out the guy that I lost to recently because I felt like, the decision should have went the other way. The decision was very close. I would have been fine with a draw. And they gave it a unanimous decision to him. But, I got to take my wins. I got to take my losses. All power to him. But we need to run it back. I need that belt.
I like it. I like it.
No.
Let's get that get back. I'm with that. So, I've been meaning to ask you this. So I know that you used to be a wrestling guy back in the day. Please tell me that you went and got your bathroom picture with the ECW thing in the 2300 arena, bro.
I did not.
How damn it!
I'm I'm sure I'm gonna fight there again. So you need to remind me, because the first thing that I did, I fought. I got my check, and I was like, peace.
Get my check.
He said, I knocked him out, got my money. Let's go, bro.
We don't get paid overtime. I think I finished I got out at 11 o'clock, and this was in Philly, and I'm from New York, down New York. I don't know where anything is. I don't know where anything's at. I'm starving, and then we can't really celebrate. It's gonna be midnight. It's Saturday. I'm like, I just want to get something. Why don't me and my lady we celebrated with McDonald's?
I was gonna say, not even a Philly cheesesteak. Damn.
Last time we went to get Philly cheesesteak when I fought in 2300 Arena, but this time we just We stopped, got McDonald's. We woke up. We went to a breakfast spot over in Philly, which was phenomenal. And then we head back home. It was disgusting. It was raining the whole weekend. So I said, I'm going back home. I miss my bed. I want to go home. I want to gain some weight. I want to gain some happy weight. And just,
There we go.
My man said, I just want to eat. Let me be
some
free and
food,
let
man.
me eat. Hot damn it. Hey, man, I like it. But, now that we've talked about what you want to do next, how you're feeling on the fight and all that stuff, I know you and I know you're a student of the game. So I thought, who better to ask than you on some of the things that are that have been floating around the world of boxing, bro. So anybody that's been paying attention with Tyson Fury, bro, there's this big hoopla of whether he's going to fight Anthony Joshua, or is there going to be a third fight with Usyk, or is he going to just say the hell with it and go to the WWE? I mean, what are your thoughts on all that? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not mad at Tyson Fury at all, because if he gets what he wants, you're going to get Anthony Joshua at a camp where he's not going to get to train a bunch. It's going to be a rushed fight, and you're probably going to be able to pick him apart if you're getting to come off of it with a full camp. If he fights Usyk, he can take Usyk's belt back and then have all the belts anyway. So, I mean, really, Tyson Fury's got the world in his hands, but I see so many people talking shit about, why would you want to fight Anthony Joshua out of all those people? Crazy thing is, dude, in my opinion, that might be the biggest money fight for him to make.
Of course. Lucratively wise, that'd be the biggest fight, because they'll sell out the arena quickly. What is it, Wembley Stadium? Or sell out quickly. Anthony Joshua, he's one of the cash cows in boxing right now, so to speak. Usyk is definitely good, but Joshua, he just stands out. He stands out. So, I mean, I don't see Anthony Joshua being Tyson Fury. Me personally, I see Tyson Fury stopping him, doing basically the same thing what Usyk was doing, but coming from a bigger guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I couldn't disagree more, or couldn't agree more, because it's going to be.
I was going to say, damn. Okay,
I couldn't agree more. It would be like you say. It's just a bigger man. I feel like he's going to be doing roughly the same thing. Anthony Joshua. It just boils down to that size, man. That size and that physique, like you guys.
Look what he did to Wilder. He put on like 100 extra pounds just for the Wilder fight, and he just sat on him. He just was able to lay on him, tire him out, and then
I mean, don't get me wrong. Joshua's a big boy himself, and he's definitely built for the comparing him to most heavyweights in the boxing sphere. But that being said, Tyson Fury's just on a different level, and he's showcased it in basically every fight in the last 5 years that he's put on. I mean, even beyond that, when he became the first lineal champion, and in however long, he showcased real skill. His whole game's just continued to evolve every fight that he continues to go in there. Like when you've seen him the first time against Wilder, you were like, okay, this is a tough fight. You've seen the knockdowns and stuff like that. You've seen him get back up. That second one, there wasn't no knockdowns. There wasn't no contest, really. He just went in there and put it on Wilder. I feel like if we were to see the Joshua fight, it would be an even worse version of that. But that being said, I'm still down to see it. It's still a big boxing fight, and like you say, Joshua is one of the biggest draws in the sport, so why not?
Big money.
Personally speaking, I even see, believe it or not, I see Wilder beating Joshua.
Yeah.
I think Wilder still is one of the to me, he's top three. I have Joshua, I have Fury, Usyk, Wilder. I think Wilder has that equalizer where I even think he beats Ruiz. Ruiz gets hit a lot. Yeah. And then I feel like if anyone gets hit by that right hand by Wilder, all he needs one right hand, and he got 12 rounds to do it.
You're not
wrong.
I know.
It takes one
by Wilder.
I know I've seen a lot of Deontay Wilder in and out of the UFC PI, the training center over there. So I'm assuming we'll see the return of the bronze bomber here sooner than later.
What do you see next for him, though? Do you think he goes to a title eliminator fight, or what do you see for him? Because I don't think he goes too low, but you can't put him right back for a title, though. I feel like
I think that Ruiz fight would make.
I think
perfect sense,
they're looking to match that up. If he beats the guy Hellenius, they're looking to match them up. And Hellenius is not a lay down either. He beat the guy from Brooklyn, I think, twice.
And I mean, that's always the question, right? Like this first fight back for a guy like him, you usually wonder, are they going to give him somebody to light up? But like you said, it'll be interesting to see, because the biggest question for me when it comes to Wilder, I feel like, is going to be, especially now that he's got like a whole new training team around him, we got to see what the vibe's going to be like in the ring. Because this is, if I'm not mistaken, isn't this the first fight since he fired his trainer too?
This is his second fight. The last he fought, I think he still has Malik Scott. I'm not too sure if he still has him, but I know he left Mark Breland, and then for a second fight with Tyson Fury, he went to Malik Scott. Malik Scott was also a heavyweight contender, and I believe he's still working with him for this fight.
That was right. You're right, because I remember they were saying how the trainer, how he was talking more for Wilder than anybody else was during the press conference and shit. You're correct. I remember that. With that being said, let's talk about something that's a little bit more fun. And I'd love to know, now that we've had a few of them, with the stuff with like Jake Paul and that, do you still feel like that do you feel like it's bringing any more eyes to boxing at this point? Or do you feel like it's just gotten completely sideshow stuff? Because we know that at the end of this month, we've got him and Anderson Silva, which, again, even though it's a shit show, that one I might be inclined to watch the shit show.
Yeah, I think it kind of slowed down a bit, the hype behind it. I mean, they still have now they're having like little shows here and there with these YouTube boxers and different this and that, but I think it slowed down a bit. I'd actually watch the Silva fight. I think it'd be entertaining and crowd pleasing. But they try to make a hype up when he was supposed to fight Ramen Jr. and whatever the debacle happened, and Tommy Fury, then Tyson Fury, Tommy Fury, he kind of quit or canceled the fight, and now it's what you're starting to see with this what Jake Paul is doing is what's happening in boxing a lot. People turning down the fights, or they don't want to fight. Tommy Fury, this happened. Ramen didn't want to, that's what happens in boxing. So now, it's happening to Jake Paul. But I think Jake Paul's a phenomenal guy. He takes care of his team. I'm personally close with Amanda Serrano. I worked with her for the Katie Taylor camp and a couple camps. I was her sparring partner. And he opened the doors, man. He's opening the doors for a lot of fighters. He changed a lot of fighters' lives. And, he does good for the sport of boxing. I mean, besides the theatrical side of, how crazy he can be, but personally, he does well for his fighters. So I got to commend him on that.
It's interesting to hear like the insider's perspective, right? Because you're always kind of you get the media side, right? And then you get like the little snippets of stuff behind the scenes and stuff. But to actually have somebody who's worked with them behind the scenes and stuff. And I know you say you're a training partner to Serrano, which I'm sure means a lot to him. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he was still, kind and stuff to you and stuff, and didn't necessarily, it wasn't something where he was gaining something out of it or anything like that. Yeah. He was still just showing love it's an interesting perspective, I guess you can say. You don't really get the insider's view too often.
I was going to say that it's the first time we actually get like a perspective from a fighter, because I've always wondered, like, hey, is Jake Paul accepted in the pro boxing world? And like you just said, we really get to see the media stuff.
He's a fighter. I mean? He trains. He trains. It's not like he's just, he's signing up for a fight and then just, going for one jog and maybe the gym twice a week. He trains like he's a fighter. So, I got to respect it. I respect anybody that gets inside that ring. And he's respected the sport enough to take it seriously, to have a camp, to have top-notch sparring, to just take it to the next level. And also just have the financial means to bring the sport to a different level.
Yeah, I mean, just like what he's doing for Amanda Serrano and all the other guys that he's built up on these undercards of his now, they're starting to become stars themselves. Like, wasn't Montana Love one of the people that was on his stuff, and now he's blown up all over the place and stuff. So
yeah,
you anytime you see these fighters and they go on and put good performances on his undercard, it does nothing but good for them. And to your point, if he's doing good behind the scenes, that's all you can really ask for out of somebody,
No, of course.
their way into this career path, I guess you could say. But my question for the pro boxing side of it, I guess you could say, is what fight do you take more seriously? Anderson Silva being the multiple time UFC champ, second longest reign, and the reign that he did have was just knocking everybody out back in the day. I'm sure you remember if you watched UFC back in the day. He was just running through everybody. Do you take that challenge more seriously, or did you look at the previous matchups with the Rahman Jr. and the Fury? Tommy Fury.
That's like when he fought who's the guy he puts to sleep with the right hand?
Tyron
Woodley. It's like saying him. Woodley MMA would have wiped the floor with him.
Yeah.
But it's different. So I feel like I honestly see Jake Paul winning this fight. He's young, he's quick, his reflexes is fast, and not to take anything from Anderson Silva because he's the GOAT in UFC.
Yeah.
It's a totally different game when it's just stand up. So, if it's stand up, it can actually probably make him look average. I'm not saying he doesn't have a hand, he doesn't have hands, but it's a complete different ball game. When it came to stand up, Tyron Woodley looked, average. It's a whole different ball game when you can't grab somebody, you can't do what you really want to do with them.
Right. And that's why I was posing the question of like, which challenge do you think was bigger for Paul?
Oh, definitely Rahman Jr. I would have loved to see that fight. I think he would have got more credit. It would have been more credible to be Rahman Jr. than Silva because let's say he knocks him out. They're gonna say, "Oh, you knocked out what is he in his 40s? You knocked out
45, 46, something. 47,
look at that. You knocked an old Silver. He was an MMA back this. They're not gonna answer no questions. They're still gonna, doubt him and you beat a has-been.
And it's funny you say that because his dad, Hasim Rahman Sr., he's here from Detroit. I remember when I grew up boxing, when I was 13, 14, he was still knocking dudes out. So to know that it was a guy like that who has that pedigree, let me ask you this. How often, we heard a lot about the rehydration clause of that fight. How often does that happen in boxing? Because I feel like I've never heard about that in like MMA locker rooms or like MMA contracts and stuff like that. Tricky. How often do you see the rehydration?
Not much. It happens when there's a big weight gap difference. When you have matches such as that, I know that I think Canelo and Danny Jacobs, they had a hydration clause, and Danny Jacobs put on like maybe 3 extra pounds, and he lost a couple $100,000 for that. I think it's ridiculous, but you can't, you shouldn't. That shouldn't even exist to me personally.
I agree. 100%.
You get on the scale, you make the weight. You should be able to put on whatever you want to put on. It's up to you.
Yep.
So the hydration clause, just to be clear, so it's just like it's like a barrier of what you can actually gain getting.
Yeah. So let's say
after the weigh-in, before the fight. Okay.
Yeah, I say I weigh in at 140. The hydration clause is 150. I come in at 151 or 152. They're gonna say, okay, we'll fine you $100,000 a pound. I think, which is what Danny Jacobs got fined for when he fought Canelo.
That's wild. That makes them weight cuts in the UFC look even worse, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck. Dude, did you see what happened with Hamzat? And if you did, what do you think is a fighter? Because to me, I talk about it on the show all the time, man. Like, missing weight like that, the only time I ever got knocked out was by a guy that was a lot heavier than me. And seeing shit like that guy had the main event and all that, and then missed weight by like 8.5 pounds, and then got up there on the microphone and basically laughed about it. And then to find out he didn't get fined at all, but the 2 other guys that missed weight on the card got fined. It was fucking wild.
He didn't get fined at all?
No. From what I'm hearing, he didn't get fined at all because they said it was a different fight because they changed the whole card. Yeah. Originally, he was supposed to fight. Who did he have originally? It was him and Nate.
Yes.
Yeah. It was him and Nate. And then so because of that, they switched all them around, and the excuse that they used was because it was a different fight. It didn't matter. Because Kevin Holland was already coming in at a catchweight fight.
That's me personally. That's absurd. That's crazy. That's unprofessional.
Fucking crazy.
It's he got on there and with pure confidence to look down, knowing that you're gonna be overweight. I mean, you're a professional. You should conduct yourself as one. I'm not too sure what Dana White, if he knew, who knows what goes on behind the closed doors, what they had planned, if this was anything of the sort. But that's wild, man. And Dana White, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he took, as you say, he didn't get fined. So who knows? And it's absurd to find the other two guys. That shit right there, I'd have been fuming.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Those guys are on the undercard. They're probably making peanuts compared to what these guys are making. Find me even more.
And that's why when you said how much Danny Jacobs is getting fined, I'm like, fuck, you're talking a couple $100,000 a pound. These dudes are getting 20% of your purse cut, but fuck, a couple $100,000 a pound, dude. Oh my God.
You'll really feel. You better feel that advantage in the ring or something.
Right.
It better be worth it, damn it, But kind of interesting question, I think, is have you been paying any attention to the Dana White's Contender Series this season?
No, I have not.
Do you know what the format is and stuff like that?
I know the format of it. Yeah, a friend of mine, he fights on, a couple guys I know that fight on. His name is Santo Curatolo. He fought a couple times like on UFC Fight Pass where like you win, they give you the contract. And what they have now on the Contender, what is it?
It's basically they have normally five fights as long as everybody makes about that night. But they have 5 fights depending on how you win and stuff like that. Dana basically grabs the mic at the end of the night and says, I think this person's worthy of the UFC or not type of, But really my question boiled down to is there's been huge success from the platform. It's trending every week on Twitter. These fighters that come out of the Contender Series are already kind of gained a huge ability, a foot in the door towards stardom at least. Do you think we could see anything like that in boxing? I know back in the day they used to have the
Contender
show.
TV show was the shit.
Yeah, it was.
It was the
every
shit.
week. I thought it was great.
I loved that show. I still have the original cast poster somewhere from when I was still training. I had that.
I forgot about that, dude.
It was a great show, but
Sergio Mora and shit.
I feel like that's like something like that is something that boxing's definitely missing, right? Is that ability to really gain a foot in the door to everybody's attention. And if you put on 5 fights that are constant action and you're looking for a finish so that you can get a contract worth X amount and so on and so forth, I feel like even if it's not that necessary format to the T, even if you just change up a couple things and make it interesting, I feel like boxing's missing something like that is what I'm getting at.
No, of course. I think that, any sport like that, they should have something that stands out and sticks out, which can grab, the social attention, get deep and down on a personal level with the fighters, the camp, the everything, instead of waiting to hear about a fight that's coming. That's like when they did with the HBO's Mayweather 24/7. That was great. They went deep down and, I used to watch it every Saturday. Mayweather Cotto 24/7, Mayweather De La Hoya, Mayweather.
I watched all that shit.
I used to always watch it, stay in tune, and you get a deep dive look behind the training camps, how they prepare, and I feel like they need shows like that stand out, that can grab social media's attention, a person's become on a personal level. I think they even had that show. What was it called? It was even with MMA. It was with the they had I forgot the name brand, what it was called, but it was these 2 guys. One guy, I think he had glasses. What is it called?
Fight Quest. You're talking about the 2 guys that went around and tried all the different styles and stuff like that?
No, they went around and they were hiring fighters. They were trying to find like the next
looking for a fight, was it?
Dana, yeah. You had Dana White's got that deal where they were going around and checking out like the different regional fights, or like would go to different things and would check out these fights, and then they would have guys that they were looking at, like on the
like him and Matt Serra, right? Wasn't it?
It was first. It was him and Serra and Nick the Tooth, and then Nick the Tooth and Dana got into it. So now it's Dean Thomas, Serra, and Dana.
No, it was the other guy. I think he died. He had his own clothing line.
Oh, we're talking about
Tap Out show. I have the whole. I have the whole box set of that. I have the whole box set of that. That shit was dope.
It was dope. They
You guys
used
are
to
bringing up.
just travel, pick up fighters, see how they do, and just
Go
stuff
fight at
like
Sturgis
that. It's
and
unheard
shit.
of.
Dude,
Yeah.
we're taking a little run down memory lane here with the contender and tap out. Bring back the old days. I like
This
it.
tells you how long I've been watching fights, damn it.
Right.
I remember all that. It used to come on Versus back in the WEC days and shit. I have the whole box set of that shit. I love that.
That was
show.
dope.
And so many good guys came off there. Like, think about it. You had Donald Cerrone, John Dodson. Trying to think of who else came off there. Multiple guys went and fought.
Was Uriah Faber on there?
No, but some of his guys were, and a lot of the other Jackson Wink guys were on there. Like, they had a bunch of them on there. There was a bunch of Mark Lehman's guys from Vegas were on there. Glover Teixeira, the UFC light heavyweight champ, was on there. I mean, they've had
crazy. What year was this? I'm like racking my brain.
2003, I think. 2003, 2004-ish.
Man, Glover's been around, hasn't he, man? I mean,
Glover was fucking old then.
That's what I'm saying. To work his way all the way back to the top, like multiple times, and get knocked down right at the top.
He was helping Chuck Liddell train when Chuck Liddell was the champ back then.
Here we are 19 years later, and he hasn't aged a bit.
Look, he won a championship in 2022. Fuck you. That's all I got to say.
And these guys, it's funny because I see like the UFC, like they showed the UFC with the pay-per-views, 281, 282. And I'm like, these guys are still fighting.
Yeah.
You're not
they
kidding. Like, think about Nate.
They look old. They like scarred up, everything.
Yeah.
You ain't wrong, dude.
And it's wild, right? Because you kind of hear about it all the time, right? It's like, would all these guys still be fighting if they were making the paydays earlier on in their career, right? Like they've reached this stage in their career where they're finally worth what they feel as though their fights are worth, right? Like they'll get in the cage and walk out, win or lose, with 250, 250,000 plus, 500,000 plus, whatever the case be. And yeah, you might suffer a couple extra bumps and bruises along the way, a couple scars and stuff, but as long as you don't allow yourself to get knocked out and stuff, and even if you do take a couple losses, I mean, fuck that $1 million later on in life, that makes a big difference, 4 extra fights, and I feel like that's the big difference why you see that stuff in the UFC is because a lot of these guys, they don't get that type of money until they're in their 15th fight in the UFC. So yeah, of course they're going to want to stick around and do what they can to stay towards the top because now they're actually making real money. So it's like, not only
imagine how much making back then.
It not only is it the competitive drive that you're trying to continue to fuel, but now you're talking about actually like, family changing money, being able to, buy your mom a house and all that type of shit. You can't,
Well, I mean, that's something that McKinnell talked a lot about, our buddy Ryan McKinnell, which if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check it out. Our boy from MMA Today and Busted Open from SiriusXM. But, you hear fighter pay talked a lot about in MMA, especially since you were talking about Contender Series. I mean, these Contender Series contracts that these guys are getting signed to, off rip. No, they're not. Like, you're not, they're making, like 15, like 15 and 15 maybe, or like 10 and 10 or something like that. And you're on a 5-fight contract like that. So until you fight out that contract, unless you're somebody like Bo Nickel, which anybody who thinks that he got signed to a regular Contender Series contract's fucking crazy. I mean,
I'd be very curious to see what they paid somebody like that. Like,
that kid's going to be...
He's gotten so many offers from so many different organizations. Like, I've watched a couple of interviews of his now, and he basically shot them all down with the, I want to compete in the best organization in the world, and I feel as though that's the UFC, so that's where I'm going to go. Understandably so, but did they at least match some of that paycheck that you were looking to get?
Dude, they probably
like
overdid it.
One championship or something, like
probably
them boys.
Endorsements, sponsorships. I feel like most of these fighters that, that at the peak of their level, at their game, they don't make their most from the UFC. It's the sponsorships, the independent investors, the people who put the money behind it and everything. That's where their really cash money comes from.
Yeah, it's Paige Van Zandt talking about, I make way more off my Instagram than I ever have fighting.
I mean, it's facts. When you look at how much all them fucking views, all she's got to do is take another picture in a bikini and she's making another $100,000. So, hey, I'm not hating on you. Make your money, but that
Getting
brings up
punched in the
something
head, right?
that,
I mean, hey.
I mean, you're not wrong. That brings up something else I wanted to ask you about coming from the boxing world. But before I do that, since we're talking about money, check out our other sponsors at G3 Payroll Tax and Accounting. Make sure you tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. It's about to be tax season. Jack and the homies can get you together. I can tell you they did my taxes last year, and I was getting some cash money. So if you need some cash money come tax season, check out the homies at G3 Payroll and Tax. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. They probably won't kick us off Facebook for that commercial, will they? But but with that being said, another thing that we've seen a lot of guys and girls at this point going to in the fight world, once their time is run, whether that's in boxing or MMA at this point, I have enjoyed the hell out of it, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Bare knuckle is really making its way around. You're seeing a lot of people from the boxing world are really making quite the name for themselves in there, at least the ones that are able to fight slick in there. What are your thoughts on bare knuckle? And what do you think about seeing so many boxers and MMA guys going there? And is that something you could ever see yourself doing?
It's interesting. Me personally, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I think getting punched with a glove on is more than enough. I mean, I feel like when people need to make money, and if that's I haven't really followed deep down into it, but I see it around a lot that people's getting more into it. So it must be developing a fan base where revenue's increasing, things are increasing, where you could see, other people like Jake Paul and different people in that, YouTube category trying to do it, shining the limelight towards it. I think anything competitive, any blood sport is going to intrigue any crowd, and they want to see blood. They want to see gut. They want to see people getting knocked out. As crazy as it sounds, that's what the world likes, so. And there's a lot of people that love to fight. If you can get paid to fight and paid to, bare knuckle brawl, why not?
Can't be mad at it, dude, because you see so many of, and why I asked that is you see so many of like the straight boxers that are going over there that are doing very well. The high level MMA fighters, like we've had both of the female champions for BKFC, the 125 champ and the 115 champ now, Britton Hart and Christine Faria. And with Christine, like if you watch, her latest title defense, with bare knuckle, I feel like it exposes it almost to a way to where like you see the level differences, right? Where you see that this person is just levels above this person, and it shows so much more blatantly, I feel like, in bare knuckle than you see it sometimes in MMA or boxing. Because sometimes in an MMA fight, if you can wrestle and you can get somebody to the ground, you could hide the fact that maybe you might not be so good on your feet. In bare knuckle, man, it's like, number one, like I'm sure that being a reason why you're not the biggest fan. I mean, like you said, getting hit with a glove is enough. But when you ain't got nothing but knuckles to hit, it only takes one good one. And when you get somebody that's slick, that's able to come in and out and hit you with those shots, and now you ain't got the gloves to block yourself or to be able to, when you're getting hit, you're getting them knuckles and getting cut a lot quicker. It just makes it it makes it so gnarly, dude. It's going to be interesting to see all the names that go over there, because then, like you said on the money tip, like, we've seen names like Chad Mendez went over there. I know he got paid. Mike Perry went over there. I know he got paid. Like these dudes. And the cool thing with bare knuckle is, I've talked about this before. Bare knuckle, what's cool with them too is they're the only combat sport that I know of that has like a pension system for fighters either. Really? Because like based upon if I'm not mistaken, and if I'm wrong and you see this, correct me in the comments, but if I'm not mistaken, based upon how many fights you have under the promotion, that determines how much money you're getting in a pension.
Yeah, so they made an absolutely huge deal about it last year. They made this whole program where they were going to start paying pensions to fighters and stuff. And it was basically based upon whether or not you reach the criteria, which is 5 fights in the organization. So I'm sure they're probably working that in their favor, where they got a lot of people that work 4 fights and stuff like that. But if you're somebody that goes in there and you're fighting for, title contention, and you're in a bunch of entertaining fights and stuff like that, the organization's going to keep you around. So that being said, props to Bare Knuckle for at least trying to, not only are you guys trying to do something different to begin with the whole sport that you're entertaining to begin with, but the fact that you're trying to do something different in the fact of actually making sure these fighters have something to say for the fact that, hey, I helped build this organization from the ground up, and here we are 15 years later, and Bare Knuckles throwing this, huge event at X, Y, and Z through the next 2 months, and it was because the work I put in 5 years ago, or whatever the case. So it's good to see them at least try to take care of the guys that competed for them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before I let you get out of here, again, I know that you were a fan of the wrestling too. Well, anyone that is a wrestling fan that might be watching this knows that we just got some crazy ass news on Monday. So now you're going to have Matt Riddle, former UFC fighter, against Seth Rollins in the fight pit, and Daniel Cormier is stepping in to be the special guest referee. So what are your thoughts on this, man? I think it's pretty fucking cool, because anybody that knows anything about DC knows that he's a lifelong WWE fan. And a lot of people don't know, he had a tryout of sorts to do commentary with WWE as well. So I just think the idea of having somebody like him in there for like WWE's version of what would be a quote unquote MMA style, fight match, whatever. I just think it's pretty cool. What do you think? And how do you see that playing out?
Oh, I think it's good. It's entertainment, and DC, he's very entertaining. I personally think he would have done well as a WWE commentator. He pinpoints everything, and I think it's going to be very funny, very entertaining, and it's going to be a good fight, a good match to see.
Could you imagine him with the telestrator in a WWE setting?
Yeah.
I can see. You know how they show like the video of them like with the reactions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Them doing one of those.
When somebody gets thrown over the table at him, and he just got to jump out the way, like, get the fuck out of my way, bro.
Yeah. He's so good. He's so good at what he does, man. It'd be cool to see. Hope maybe he can get one. Maybe this will be like a foot in the door. Like, hey, you ever think about coming back?
Hey, let him come fill in for Patty Mack while he's over there at College Game Day. That's what we're talking about.
That's what I was just about to say. Could you imagine him doing a 3-man desk, have the play-by-play, and then have Pat McAfee and Daniel Cormier?
Could you imagine him and Corey Graves together? Holy shit.
We come up with so many great ideas on this show.
Hot damn it.
They really need to take a look at this stuff.
I mean, I know for a fact that they listen. So you know what? Fuck them. If you're listening, sign me up. Give me the pedestal. I keep saying that needs to be a damn t-shirt, but see, every time we come up with these ideas, it kind of proves my point. Well, hell, we've been flapping our gums for quite a while. Ken, I appreciate you coming on the show again. If you got anything else that you want to plug or let anybody know about, or where they can catch a replay of the fight or anything else, or social medias or any of that good stuff, feel free.
Well, I'll be getting some streaming first. Real ASAP. I'll be getting it on my social platform. Just go follow me at Ken Bank on Robles. I'm always appreciating and showing you guys nothing but positive mindset, positive attitudes, and progress. So I'm gonna be busy. I'll probably get another date within the next month or so. I want to stay active. I'm probably gonna be getting a fight at the end of the year. So stay tuned. Keep in contact, and I'm so glad to be again on this show. It feels like like family right now. I'm comfortable. I'm just hanging out with the guys. So it was good talking to you guys.
Yeah, greatly appreciate the time, man.
Yes.
We appreciate it. And before we let you go, again, make sure you check out that promo code KO3MF. Go check you out, Michigan's finest. And hey, if you're at the Five Finger Death Punch show tomorrow, guess what? Ring the motherfucking bell. You got the bell. Ring the bell, man.
I'm working on it.
You're killing
I gotta dig up the bell.
You're killing me.
You gotta cue me up, bro.
Damn you can't. I keep you on your toes. Well, like I said, there you go. Ring the bell. We're going to be at Five Finger Death Punch tomorrow. Shout out to past guests of the show, Chris Kale and Angelo Popovsky. Like I said, Ange, I'm with it. If y'all need a tackling dummy tomorrow when you're training jiu-jitsu, I'm down to choke some motherfuckers before a concert. So, with that being said, until next time and in the in-between time, hit that subscribe button. Peace.
Take care, fellas.
All right.